you just follow the money trail. If you want to see how things work in the Western world, there's a perception of how we think things work, and then there's the reality, and the reality is the money trail.
Brian, how did you find carnivore?
For me, it was I was actually abusing alcohol by choice, and that might sound weird. I was in an incredibly toxic workplace, and I had a relationship failing at the same time. And for me, it was a way of finding a coping mechanism, and it seemed like the most perfectly logical thing to do at the time. So I started abusing alcohol, and I got to a point where I was never an alcoholic, but I was enjoying the journey of that sort of lifestyle, as weird as that sounds. But I knew I had to find a solution, and I've never been a victim. I've never considered myself a victim my entire life, and I knew change has to come from within. So I said, look, I'm not happy with my life. I need not help, because I had made a decision, and I knew I could just make a decision the other way. But I needed answers, and I've always been, my whole life, I've always had a sort of different way of thinking. I'm pretty anti-establishment. I kind of think the medical practitioners are all in a bubble, so to speak, and it's very hard for one of them to leave that safety pin. They get ridiculed, and they have to be quite strong people to take on that type of criticism. And I went to YouTube, and it was ridiculous. If you go on for any problems, particularly with drinking, I was, like I say, I maintain this, and I know this within myself. I was never an alcoholic. I chose to abuse alcohol, and I did it for a period of time, and I actually quite enjoyed it. As weird as that sounds, but change had to come, because I could feel it really starting to affect me. But all my life, I'd had stomach issues as well. And I got on YouTube, and it's you want to know how I found carnivore? Well, you're responsible, Dave Mack. It was you. I found your YouTube channel, and I heard the Aussie accent, and I said, this lunatic's talking about he's been in the same place where I was, because by chance I had landed on the video where I can't remember what it was called, but you had a series of photographs of your journey, and you had a photograph of where said you were drinking too much through stress at work and all this. So this guy's been there where I am, and I could tell that you were similar to me in many aspects. And once again, when I see an Australian on YouTube, I'm more likely to watch, and that's what drew me in. And I think I binge watched your videos for an entire Saturday. And it was really good, because you could actually see your transition from where you were. And I just followed the timeline of your videos and said, there's something in this. I need to really have a look at it. And that was it for me. I made the decision to stop drinking that day, and I did. And my life's been like that, though. I can just do things, and I can come out of them at will. And abusing alcohol was a choice for me. That's how I found, well, I've got a problem. I can't deal with all this stress. The workplace I was in was the most toxic workplace I've ever been in. And I've always done difficult work. But this place was unique in that aspect. And plus, combined with the relationship going sour. So you'd go to work, it was stress, and then come home, stress. So it just wasn't a healthy lifestyle, and I knew I had to change. And I had to change in multiple ways. I had to change the job, which I did. I had to change my lifestyle, which I did. And I had to get out of that relationship, which I did. And unfortunately for me, it wasn't really that easy. I got into another job very, very quickly, and I sort of got out of the frying pan straight into the fire. It was exactly the same. And my first attempts on carnivore failed really, and I'll tell you why they failed, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to come on and discuss this is I had incorporated cheat days, and I don't know why now. It seems so illogical because I was actually rewarding myself with the poison that was keeping me back where I was. So I'm happy to say that's all gone. But I had to sort of get my life in priority. I had to say what was important to me. And what was important to me was alleviating this stress and this toxicity that had come into my life. So it was more important for me to leave the alcohol away, get into a good workplace environment. And so something had to give. So this was winter last year. So it was around May, I would have had my first attempt. So May 2023, my first attempt of proper carnivore. And I had stopped drinking earlier than that, but it was I said let's try this carnivore thing. And because there were other things that were creeping into my life, I was almost pre-diabetic. I had a really bad problem with my right knee. Not enough for surgery, but I was niggling. And one of the triggers for me, in my line of work, I speak to people all day long. I'm pretty much in negotiations and mediations and trying to meet people's expectations. So you get to know people quite well very quickly, and I spend a lot of time in living rooms and things, and I just started taking note of the age groups of people I was talking with and the amount of medications in their living room. And it really started to shock me, and I started coming home and talking about it. And because I had turned 50 years old, and I'm looking around at these people, and through conversation, I would hear, they were 49 or 48, and I'm looking at these people and say, shit, they're nearly dead, and look at what they're taking. And I thought, there's something wrong here. There is something wrong here. And if I'm a big person for data, I love it. I'm a statistics person. So, our lifestyle is killing us. What we're eating is killing. I think everyone knows that, but they either lack the know-how or they lack the courage to actually take some self-control. I'm a big believer in people. The change has to come from with you. You can tell someone they've got to change, but until they're ready, it's not going to happen. Sorry, I've got a bit lost with that thought, but yeah, I just deal with people all day long and seeing where they were in life, and then I could feel myself going down this slope. I could feel my knee getting worse. I could see the pounds starting to come on. And I've always been fit. I've exercised my whole life. I actually love it. I think I just like killing myself. I do. But it was getting harder. It was getting harder, and I knew I just didn't want to be one of those people. I remember when I could do this, So long story short, it was a pretty difficult time in my life, but I was able through 1, 2, 3, I fixed it, and I finally got into same profession, different company where the culture's fantastic. It's supportive. Management's great. We all work together rather than compete. And I think there's a lot of people out there that understand exactly what I'm talking about. The common goal and just a more positive environment all around, rewarded for your efforts rather than abused for them. And just a really good place to be. I had to move 1,000 k's further north to do that, but I was prepared to do anything that it took. That's just my personality. And landed on my feet. So it was Christmas Day 2023. I decided I'd have another crack at this carnivore seriously. And I have been serious since Christmas Day 2023. So I've only been in it, 2.5 months? In my initially I dropped all the weight that I was never seriously overweight, but I was probably 8 kilos I was carrying. Now I'm down to a good fighting weight. Got my six pack back, all that sort of stuff. And it's been a really amazing journey very quickly, because I've always been interested in fitness all my life. But this is something supernatural almost. Like, the gains that I've had physically and mentally are absolutely out of this world, and needs to be investigated more and taken more seriously by the medical fraternity, in my opinion, because what I have felt personally cannot be denied. And it was your conviction, Dave, through your videos, that I saw something in those, and I said, there is something here. This is a guy that I relate to, and look at his change, look at his journey. And I've certainly experienced that myself. My pre-diabetes is completely gone. The doctors can't believe it. My knee, I don't need surgery anymore. My times for 10K runs and things like that are blitzed. I can't even begin to tell, like, just how I feel. Uh, the uh, the level thinking. I'll try to express this in words. I am that calm and chilled out. I'm a little nervous on this video, as you would expect, but I have learnt the art of responding to problems rather than reacting. And I know that that has come through my head being in a better place through carnivore. It's definitely through carnivore. I'm absolutely convinced. There's something that happens when your body starts getting the nutrients it needs, and my brain is working on a much better level. I just don't have stress, and I'm still doing a stressful job, but it's the way you start handling. I'm sure there's other people that understand what I'm saying. So for me, the changes haven't just been physical. They're a welcome benefit. But for me, it was always going to be a mental game. I got into carnivore for the mental aspect, not the physical aspect. The physical aspect's just a nice run-on effect of what's happened. It's astounding to me now when I thought I was having cheat days when I initially failed. And it wasn't a failure either. I decided to quit. I just couldn't change that much in my life that quickly. So I decided carnivore would be put on the back burner. But it was interesting. Every time I ate something, I knew, oh, gee, I feel sick. And I've been like that my whole life. My parents used to say, oh, Brian, you got to eat fruit, you got to eat veggies. And, you want to do the right thing, so you do. Always felt sick. My whole life I felt sick eating that way. I've just been one of those types of people. Meat was, for me, I'm not saying everyone's like that, but for me, it definitely was.
You're looking better, you're feeling better, mental clarity. You've made the move to get into a new job, which is not toxic.
Same job, but
company.
different company, yeah.
When did that move happen?
That happened July 2023. So I made the decisions. I act pretty quickly. So I started applying for work, and I didn't care where I went, because I wanted it that badly. I was prepared to go anywhere within Australia or overseas. It didn't really worry to me, and started speaking to people, and secured a position up here. So moved 1,000 k's further north from where I was. Yep.
Wow. And we were talking before, like you're living very close to the beach now as well. So like has
Yep.
that how has that been as far as the mental calmness or whatever, has that helped you as well?
Well, I spent so many years in the desert when I was younger, working, that I sort of made a pact with myself several years ago. I'm always living by the water now. So I'd worked remotely a lot, and now I just live right on the beach, and I have done for several years. I never it's interesting when you look back where you've lived and worked, and you go, oh, that was by the water. Well, that's by the water. That's by the water. It's just a natural progression. For me, it's good for me. I'm not a gym person. I think gyms are extremely toxic environments for most people, particularly if you're coming back into the fitness regime. Um, I train outside. So for me, I literally go out my front door. I've got beach, I've got kilometres of walkway, I've got, chin up bars and all that type of thing right on my doorstep. And that's a big part of my life. I exercise every day, always have. Even when I chose to abuse the alcohol, I'd be pissed and doing chin ups. So, actually, there was some performance gains on that too, but not long term. So, I think anyone looking to change, you've got to make some sacrifice and you've got to have the guts to see change through. And that's really all it is. I think a lot of people, there's too much victim mentality in the Western world. You've got to take action. No one's coming to help you. I'm telling you now, they're against you. So you've got to take action. You've got to find, I'm not saying carnivore is the magic wand. I'm saying what works for the individual. This works for me. It's interesting, the change in the diet as well. When I first started on Christmas Day, I was not loose. I was more fat based. For me, it was like, okay, I want to turn my body into eating fat rather than sugar. And so cheese, eggs, chicken, pork, beef, all the meats, dairy. It's funny how that's changing for me. I go in the shops now and my eyes are naturally drawn to beef, not through any conscious decision. Chicken used to be a huge part of my diet, and now it's very little. It's more beef and fat. When I first started the carnivore thing, cheese was a big part, particularly when you're going through withdrawals. For me, weren't very difficult, but there's something about sugar that wants more sugar. And I think that's been well established. So for me, having a nibble on cheese was much better than leaving the carnivore. So since Christmas Day, I've been very strict. I haven't had any carbs. I haven't had any sugar at all. And in 2.5 months, I can honestly say the gains are absolutely incredible. And we can rattle off all of them, but it's exactly the same as anyone else that you've had on your show. It cannot be denied. It's kind of something you have to experience for yourself. So anyone considering the carnivore diet, I would recommend no cheat days and at least do it a month. If you can try, it won't take you a month. I reckon you get through that first 2 weeks, you will believe. I think it doesn't take long. It's like your body responds very, very quickly.
So when you think about this, so it's been only 2.5 months, and you think for most people, probably after 2 weeks, they're going to know, okay, well, this is something I'm going to stick to.
Yeah.
The fact that it can happen so fast, but, the medical profession is kind of more focused on prescribing drugs and stuff like that. I mean, when you kind of look at that whole picture, I mean, how does that make you feel?
It's the Western world, mate. You just follow the money trail. If you want to see how things work in the Western world, there's a perception of how we think things work, and then there's the reality, and the reality is the money trail. I'm not saying doctors are bad, but they come in, I'm sure most of them come in with very good mindsets, but very quickly they're pulled aside and say, well, this is how it's done. And plus these, see this nice drug representative that comes in, he's taking us out to lunch tonight. We're going to stop using that drug and we're going to start using this one. And that's the reality of the world. We until the world no longer runs on money, and money is not our true motivator. That's the way it is. You can choose to be part of that system, or you can choose to be part of it as much as you have to, but then choose your own path. And I choose that. I have to deal with it. I can't just, if I could get off this rock, I would, but I can't. I'm here. So we do the best that we can. And that's really where I think the world is, whether it's politics, policing, drug companies. You should follow the money trail. It shows you what's happening every time. There's no advantage to keeping people well, is there? There's no advantage. Like,
There's
what's
no
the
money in
advantage?
it.
There's no money in it. So why would it? And realistically, if we're truly honest with ourselves as human beings, we're motivated by that. That's what motivates us. Why else do we go to work? Why? I mean, unless you're truly dead, like, you're just going because someone else tells you to do it, and then you're just a sheep, So if you're anyone that doesn't consider themselves a herd animal, which I think most people are, why are you going? You're going to get this stuff that helps us with our lifestyles, but our lifestyles are so bad, we tend to buy stuff that temporarily relieves that issue. It's just this circle of nonsense. You have to deal with it because we can't live in a bubble, but you choose how much you deal with it. That's how I feel. We can make a choice, and I choose the carnivore lifestyle in that respect. I like that aspect. I like being a bit different. I've always been a bit different, so this suits me, and the results cannot be denied for me. Someone else might have different results, but for me, I had a period of time when in my early 20s, I went vegetarian for a year and had exceptional results on that too. But it was unsustainable for me. And I'm not convinced it's just the carnivore thing, Dave. I've got to be honest with you. I'm not convinced. I think it's more of a whole foods thing, getting rid of processed stuff, getting rid of sugar. I think the real culprit here is complex sugars. And I think there has to be a lot more research. It deserves a lot more research instead of this blanket, no, you're all going to die of heart failure. Well, that's not my experience so far. I'm knocking out chin-ups like a 20-year-old, and I'm 53 this year. So I can tell you, I will not be changing until they can prove and show me something better. I'd even go so far as to say the crazy stuff we're seeing in the Western world now, I would even immigrate for my lifestyle, because it seems like the Western world's hellbound and killing us all, and I choose life. So I'll immigrate to a different country if necessary, instead of eating insects and stuff like that. I know it might sound a
Yeah.
bit loony, but there's a spiritual side to this as well that can't be denied as well. And that's something I'm struggling to put into words at this point, but I might be able to help people out there. There's people that aren't as fortunate than me, might be wheelchair bound, they might be really sick. Go outside, sit out in the sun. Don't put headphones in. Be in your own thoughts. It's very important. Get in touch with yourself again.
Yeah.
Get away from this world. What do you want? What's important to you? And then put processes in to make it happen. That's the way to be free. Because if you're waiting for someone else to come and help you, you're going to be waiting a long, long time.
Yeah. So I'm interested, like 2.5 months. How has your eating been in that 2.5 months? How often are you eating? And you mentioned things like the chicken have reduced a lot.
Yeah.
Is it just steaks?
No, I still eat a bit of pork. I don't mind pork rashes and things because you can choose the amount of fat that you're consuming because it's all in one spot. I've gone off lamb completely. For me, it's not for me. But beef, I've made friends with a butcher, and I'd recommend that people do this if they're serious about this lifestyle. I went down, introduced myself. He gives me a call now, and something good comes in. He has a cut for me. He knows exactly how I want it. and I just go pay them. I don't even ask what it's going to cost. I've actually found the carnivore lifestyle to be cheaper. I only eat when I'm hungry, and sometimes that's twice a day. Sometimes I don't eat that day. It's kind of dependent on the meal before. I eat what I feel like, but then I won't eat until I'm hungry again. My lifestyle suits that. Like today, I haven't eaten breakfast. I'll be going to work after this interview, and I just won't eat at work. I just won't. I'll wait till tonight. And I'll probably have steak tonight. I probably will steak, maybe a couple of eggs, maybe not. It just depends. I have that luxury because I live alone. It's easy. I found it to be very cheap. I buy all my meat in bulk, as I say. I've made friends with a butcher. He literally rings me, Brian, I've got something you really like. It's got nice fat on it. Yeah, I'll have it. I'll have it, Evan. I'll be down at 4. Have it ready for me. And he does, And that's you need friends, right? So yeah, and he's happy to sell it to me. Yeah, that's his
That's
trade.
awesome.
So, yeah.
And how good is it that you can wake up, you can get busy with things, you can go to work a full day and not have eaten and still be still have energy and still feel clear-headed and just
Yeah.
get about the day?
Well, you mentioned the word freedom before, and it definitely is liberating. There's no doubt about it. Food doesn't even enter into my mind, and if I do get hungry, I've always practiced fasting my whole life, and I don't even know why. It's just been a natural thing for me. I can knock out 12 hours. The longest fast I've ever done is 10 days. So going 12 hours without food is not a big deal. It's all up here, and then I'm pretty busy. My workday is pretty busy and intense. So um, the the day is over. You come home. I have a nice, nutritious meal that my body seems to really thrive on. That's it. I don't even feel hungry. It's great, and all aspects of life has got better. Like it's hard to explain. And anyone watching this that's been on, too, guys. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. I think it's a personal thing, but it's a collective thing as well. We've all experienced it, but we may experience it differently. But the overall results have been undeniable. I would encourage anybody to at least give this a go. You might be one of those people it doesn't work for, but give it a go. I reckon within 2 weeks, you'll either say I can't do it or I will do it. The future for me, I'll be staying like this. I've already made that decision because what am I going back to? It's I was terrible for bags of crisps. Bags of crisps were my drug, mate. I'd kid myself. I'd go into the supermarket and I'd go down that aisle where the lollies and chips are, and I'll buy the family pack because it's cheaper. And I'd kid myself on the way home. It was like a schoolboy giddy with excitement. I'm going to barbecue chips. And you'd kid yourself saying, oh, I'll just have a few. I'll just have a few. And then by the end of the evening, like you've had the whole bag. So, and then I said, oh, I'll just run extra Ks tomorrow. It'll be all right. And it was for the weight for me, but I could tell it doing damage, like the bloating, the way my stomach would feel. We might touch on some of that actually, because it's been talked about on these programs. But all my life, when I was on carbs, before I went to work, I would go to the toilet, honestly, 4 or 5 times, and they were just horrible, And this is normal. I used to think, is this normal? Because I've been told that we've got to eat this and this and this. Mate, now it's just perfect. Perfect. Like I can't even describe it. It's they say you're constipated. I've never had that trouble. I never really got any keto flu or any of that either. The transition for me was so natural. Like my body had always wanted this. I was denying it, and it was revolting and trying to tell me something else.
I think
Liquids.
so sorry to interrupt. I think a lot of the time people confuse constipation with not needing to go, you know, so that, you know, when they
Yeah.
first go on to carnivore, they're like, constipated, I can't do anything. And it's like, well, you don't actually need to go in the first place. That's why, you know, you're just so in the
Exactly.
habit of going into the bathroom every 3.5 hours or something to evacuate that, you know.
Well, because I was used to the fasting sort of thing as well. Like it's quite common for you. That's one of the reasons you do fast. Apart from spiritual reasons, you fast to give your body a rest, right? So it's quite common after 48 hours, you'll stop going to the toilet until you start eating again, right? Liquids for me have changed too. Like I still like my black coffee. I've got one right now, um, and water. Really, that's it. And it's not that I've when I first started in December, January, I went to the supermarket and I'd buy these drinks called bubblies. They're just a hint of, and when I mean a hint, it's a hint of fruit. And it's basically soda water. And that was enough to get me over those initial, oh, gee, I really feel like some sugar. I just have that. And just one or two sips of that, that just got rid of any of those cravings, I guess. The cravings for me went real quick. I probably suffered 2 or 3 days. That was it. And when I say suffered, I use that word loosely. Like it wasn't really suffering. It was pretty easy for me, the transition. Yeah.
So at that point, you were giving up both the sugar, the junk foods, and also alcohol at the same time.
No, I'd gave up alcohol a lot earlier. That was when I said I had three things to change. I did, and that was one thing I couldn't not change. So I decided that was over with. I enjoyed that crazy time of my life, um, but it had to end, and it did end, and it ended abruptly. It's kind of cool. I went to Christmas parties. Obviously, you get invited to work Christmas parties, and clients are there and things like that, and it was. I would never drink heavily at those types of functions anyway, ever, because I don't think the workplace you should ever be in that situation. That's just my mindset. But it's very interesting to watch people. You know, they'll start off on a glass of wine and everyone's still talking well, and then the cocktails come out, and 3 hours later, there's legs up, there's guys falling over. It's just a total shit fight, you know. And it was really cool to watch it from the outside. I have a giggle, and then I just drove home. Whereas before it was like, oh, how am I getting home? You know, I can't drive and all this nonsense. Now you just do what you want. It's. I will never go back to drinking, and not because I don't believe I had a drinking problem at all. I don't. I chose a period in my life to be an alcohol abuser, and I'm saying that again. I made a conscious decision. This is how I'm going to deal with this shit in my life, and it did help for a while, and then it didn't help because there were some serious consequences. Um, but I just have seen now. It's interesting when you remove yourself from a situation, you get fresh eyes on things. And I've been in certain situations where I've been around people drinking heavily, and I just sort of shake my head and say, "Shit, I'm never doing that. Look how stupid they look. I'm not doing that." That's that for me. That part of my life is over. And the funny thing is, the carnivore sort of, you don't want sugars. You just don't. After a while, you just don't want sugars, and alcohol it's a complex sugar. That's all it is. And the side effect is the alcohol, which turns into complex sugar. There's no benefit from alcohol. I don't even like the taste. I've never liked the taste. I remember my first beer when I was young. You remember how you recoil? You know, what the
Mm.
hell is this? And everyone's saying, oh, well, mate, you're a man now. You know, this is what we do. You know, it's like, are you kidding? Like, this is horrible. I've never liked it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they say it's an acquired taste, and it's acquired taste because it tastes like crap.
And you spend a lifetime trying to find something that tastes good. That's why people stay drinking their whole life. It all tastes like shit to me. You know, I never drank for that. I drank to get shit faced. I, I want to get out of this world for a bit. So yeah, that was a perfectly logical vehicle to do that.
I'm interested to know if someone came to you and said, "Look, you've had lots of benefits with this. I see it's working. I'm a little bit skeptical, but I want to give it a go." How would you recommend they start?
Left foot, right foot, mate. You just got to start. Like, and this is it's got to come from the person. And that's something that I've chosen to do. I haven't told anybody about this. I've chosen to lead by example. Um, Otherwise, you just become one of those annoying people that finds something and tries to convert others. I think we have to lead by example in this situation because there's that much negativity and there's that much conspiracy against the carnivore community for various reasons. I think that will change as it gets out there, as it becomes more commonplace. I think that will change over time, but I believe we should lead by example. And you probably people that have serious medical issues and concerns that are starting to be alleviated, it's going to come from that because when they go to visit their doctors for their checkups and then the results can't be denied. I've seen the doctors myself. They're looking at my bloods, they're looking at me, they're looking at what it used to be 3 months ago, and they're scratching that. You can see the marbles going around in their brain. They just can't get it, but that will change because if this takes off, they're going to have to confront that. That's all it can be. I've told people in my workplace, and there's one person that's uh, in that sort of health, sort of conscious place there. But most people just sort of laugh it off and continue to drink their big cans of Mother and V and all that crap, and then they'll complain that they're falling asleep at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's when you leave all that behind and you really start opening your eyes and looking at what's going on. It's very plain, isn't it? I mean, you would have seen it. One of the things I love doing, I'm a very, very big observer of people. And when I go to the supermarket, I'll look at how they look. I'll look at not so much superficially, I'll look at their eyes, and that tells you all you need to know. And then you'll look at what's in their trolley. And you can see, well, maybe you should probably put some of those items back. But to actually approach that person and say, hey, I'm your friendly neighborhood lunatic, maybe I can help you here, that's not going to work. I don't think that approach is going to work. I think we have to lead by example.
As much as you want to go and start pushing people's shopping trolleys over and going, stop this. Yeah, I mean, you're going to look like a lunatic, right?
I don't have the mindset of saving anyone. Like, who am I? I mean, who cares? You want to do that to yourself. I mean, they're nothing to me. Like, and that might sound harsh, but it's got to come from the person. The person has to want to change. I'm a big believer in it. We live in a world where people are too eager to put their hands up and say, it's not me, it's them. This victim mentality in the West is killing us. It's killing our society. It's destroying our future. It's destroying young people. And they've been maligned into this way of thinking. No, that's not how we do it. You've got to own your mistakes. You've got to move forward. You've got to take some responsibility. If you're not prepared to do that, you are going to stay exactly where you are, which is a victim, and you're just going to do what you're told because that's what victims do.
Wow, that was very well said. I have to say I heartily agree with those sentiments. So where does the future go for you now as far as work wise, diet wise, just what are you thinking about the future?
To be honest, mate, I'm a person that tries to live in the present a lot. I do think about the future like everyone, but I try and pull myself back. The future is created from our present. At the moment, I have a short-term goal. So I turned 53 this year. I want to be in the shape of my life. And what that means to me is like internally. It's not superficially. I couldn't give a shit about taking my shirt off and seeing my abs. It's here. I want to be in the shape of my life. It goes back to what I said earlier. I have spent countless hours, probably years if you add it up, speaking to people in their living rooms and so on, and seeing their medications, seeing their decline in their health. I'm not going to be one of them. I might end up that way, but I'm not going there without a fight, if that makes sense. I refuse to go down that path. So for me, it's about maintaining a healthy lifestyle, maintaining a healthy mindset, being true to myself, not following this stupid world. You know, in fact, I'll touch on that. My life got infinitely better. If the world tells me to do something, I do it. I do the opposite, and you're usually spot on. So the world's telling us not to eat meat, right? Look at the results. Oh, and you can take that mindset and put it through many things in your life. And I'm pretty much a black sheep, I guess, not in the carnivore community, but if you have a look at my lifestyle, yeah, I'm single, no kids, 52 years old. I just, you know, everyone's buying electric cars. I've got 3 guzzling motorcycles. You know, I just don't. This world is all upside down to me. It's like up is down, black is white. It just, when I walk around, it's like, I don't even belong here. This is not where I'm supposed to be, if that makes sense. It's just, you turn on the telly and it's just nonsense. It's just, how is this even happening? There's parts of this world that just baffle me. I just don't understand. So, yeah, maybe I am crazy. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's more just you take a critical view of things. You're not so willing to just accept things at face value. And having that critical view of things means that you go, okay, well, let's kind of break this down a little bit. And then once you start to break it down, it's, oh, I'm not sure this is right.
Yeah. Well, it's just not right.
Yeah.
It isn't right. There's something inside you that knows it's not right, and yet you see lines of people following that path. It's just I don't understand. You know, and it comes from that victim mentality. You know, it's instilled in us in the Western world. Shut up, do what you're told, and at the end you'll have the golden watch. Well, you don't have to be Einstein to see that the golden watch, that carrot, gets moved every year, you know. And you know, not to get political, but our leadership has no clue, and that's probably by design as well. I think democracy is long dead. I think there's someone higher calling the shots. I think we have the illusion of having a say. Yeah, change will come, but we got a lot of shit to go through first. But not to go down a political path. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just want to say, Dave, I mean, you yourself should really pat yourself on the back, and I mean that sincerely, not just for me. I'm sure you're changing lives for people through something as simple as interviewing people, but it's not simple. It takes you time, you're dedicated to it. And not only that, you've led by example as well. So that goes to my mindset of leading by example. You've done exactly that. I wouldn't be here now. So I just hope that maybe our conversation might just help someone. It might be 20 years from now. You know, who knows? YouTube might still be around. Someone might stumble on a vintage reel. Who knows? You and I will probably be buried by then. Probably die of a heart attack. But we'll find out, you know.
No, I appreciate that, Brian. So,
yeah.
If people want to reach out to you, do you have a YouTube or an Instagram or anything like that?
I used to have a YouTube channel. I was removed from YouTube. I don't have social media at all. I've never used it. I always thought it was an evil thing. I just will not engage. If people
Mm.
want to reach out, they can email me at towley.com.au. That's it. People want to know me, they can call me. I'm the old school. I refuse social media. I absolutely
Mm.
detest that stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
So no, email or nothing.
Yeah, no worries. That's totally understandable. Um, so Brian, look, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story with us. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me, mate. And sincerely, thank you. It's that Saturday saw you. I was sitting on my couch. It was raining. I thought, oh, I can't ride today because I'm an avid motorcyclist. I can't ride today, and I just ended up binge watching your videos. And it was your videos. There's no one else to blame, mate. So you're responsible. So if the police come knocking for me, I'm pointing to you.